There are times in life where you need to do a bit of soul searching, where you need to take some time and think about what it is that you want to do next, and not jump into making a rash decision. It's a time when you really need to go for a walk, enjoy the view, and use a drone to film it. So what is all this about? What am I really getting down to here? And well, it's been about a year since I've purchased and used both a Sony and Nikon cameras. And now it's time to make a decision. Do I go Sony or do I go Nikon? Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Peter, and today we're going to talk about the decision of whether to go with the Nikon, which we're filming on today, and the Sony camera. And this is a difficult decision. It's a very difficult decision, and the choice will be to focus only on one system and not upgrade another system. So there are two options: upgrade the Nikon or upgrade the Sony set of cameras, lenses, and stick with them. There's no point in sticking with both. There's no point in spending money on doubling up the cameras and then having to deal with color correction and matching colors and profiles and formats, and it's worth investing in one system and sticking with it. I've had time to experiment with both, and now is the time to make a decision and sticking with just one. So here we go. First, let's talk about the use case. YouTube and vlogging and nature recording and photography. We do a lot of photography, nature photography, architecture, and wildlife, cityscapes, landscapes, and that's the use case. And at the moment, we have the Nikon Z9, D850, and the A7S3. I had the Sony A7 IV, which I sold because I wasn't using it. Was going to use it for photos, and we bought some lenses for it and adapted it. But the Z9 is definitely much better for photos. It's faster. It's got a larger sensor, and I can use the Sony lenses on Nikon also. So in terms of, that's our use case. And so I talked to a few professionals about the upgrade path that I had in mind, and they suggested that it would definitely make more sense to stick with Nikon for it. And the upgrade paths are as follows. So the upgrade path is on the Sony system to upgrade to the FX6 and use this as a sort of vlogging camera. Hold it. At the moment, it's just too heavy. So it's just not going to work with the A7S3 as it is. So we need another one, either another A7S3 or FX6. FX3, if I wanted to focus on video, then I wanted to focus on video with video settings and video features. And at the moment, the FX6 is pretty much the best price for the biggest bang for buck when it comes to video. Now the only problem there is that for photos, I would still need to use the Nikon system. So the other upgrade path is Nikon, and we would stick with the Z9, get another Z9, which I'll explain why later, and then get an FX30 for vlogging with lens, and that would be just our focus on the vlogging system. Now for the use case that I mentioned, people were saying, well, you don't need the FX6, and the reason is that the FX6 is great for commercial work, for documentary work, where you need to plug into different systems, where SDI is really important, and we don't use any of that stuff, and I'm not really interested in doing commercial work at this point. Don't think I will. I thought about doing documentary work, but there's just too much other stuff going on, and I'd prefer to just keep it, with the vlogs and the nature recordings and the photography. So with that, it makes more sense to go with Nikon. But for video, XLR inputs on the FX6, internal ND filter. I mean, that makes more sense, right? So the next one is the lenses. Now, the lenses I can always adapt from Sony to Nikon, whereas the Nikon, I couldn't find any good adapters for the Nikon Z to Sony, which is interesting. Right now I'm recording on the FE 1.8 35mm. This is the Sony 24-70 GM2 2.8. Works really well on the Nikon system. So we have some Nikon Z glass that works pretty well, but the Sony glass is generally a little bit better. We are interested in upgrading the Nikon glass so we can do better photos for our nature photography. We have the 16-35 2.8, which we've used to good effect. So in terms of glass itself, I think maybe the Sony glass is a little bit better, especially with the motors for AF, but we can still adapt it to the Nikon Z9. So in terms of the visuals, like it kind of goes towards Nikon also. Now with audio, I'll say Nikon, please sort out a smart hot shoe. Sony wins this easily. Like that's one big factor that's drawing me to the Sony cameras, is I can have a lower noise floor, have a clearer sound using these things. So I can have an XLR input here, 2 XLR inputs, and then the FX6 would have the same thing with the handle, and that's what I would use it for. So Sony wins in that department. I think that's a big factor in this decision, because we do record a lot of audio. We do have an external audio recorder, but we use it for nature recordings when it needs to be really pristine, 32-bit zoom f3. The other factor is usability, and I'm used to the Nikon system, and so is my wife, and so that goes to Nikon. My wife is definitely interested in only doing photos. She's not really interested in doing too much video, so again, that goes to the Nikon system. And so it is a difficult decision, and I think I've already kind of made that decision before I even started the video, but I needed to talk through it. And unfortunately, I think I'll probably have to sell the Sony a7S III also as the a7 IV and say goodbye to Sony and go all in on Nikon. And the reason is I believe that they're going to be doing some amazing things with their video capabilities in the future. They're already doing some amazing stuff with the Z8. The Z9 is doing really well. It's working really well for me. I'm filming it on this right now. And as much as I'd like to, have both systems, it doesn't really make much sense, does it? Why would you spend all this money on double the amount of lenses, double the amount of cameras? I can also do great photography on the Z9. And with the FX30, we can just pull it out. And as much as I would really like it to be 10-bit, I don't see that much of an impact for just vlogging when you're walking around. Many YouTubers and many vloggers make good effect of GoPros and other 8-bit recorders. So I don't see that being being an issue. And Nikon's flat profile is not too bad also. So there we go. That's the decision. We're going to go all in on Nikon. And guys, thanks for listening. And it's not always easy to make these kind of decisions when you've got this desire to just explore the equipment, but really need to focus and just create the work with the cameras that you've got. So guys, thanks again, and I'll see you at the next video.